Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gann, alongside my partner, Jack and Nicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. Another chance, go check out our website, justsayingfootball.com. Follow us on Instagram at justsayingNoGWJS for article and video updates. And don't forget us in your ears on Spotify at Just Saying Football. We are in Week 15. It is Week 1 of the fantasy playoffs, or if you're, in my case, for the losers bracket in the fantasy league, you're just trying to do anything you can to not get the punishment. Other leagues are doing better, and keeper league rough for your boy this year. But for many others, you got some start sits this week. We'll be getting into those and a lot of our games. Very important games for the NFL as well. Could round out some of the playoffs, some of the division winners as well. We saw that last week with the Steelers and the Ravens. How are you feeling going into Week 15, bud?
Yeah, dude, a lot going on. First week, like you said, fantasy playoffs. Things are getting crazy. We got teams that are eliminated in bunches this week. Some teams are going to start making, clinching playoff scenarios this week. Got a lot of division games, a lot of interesting stories going into Week 15, so let's get right into it.
Yeah, speaking of division games, we have one right off the bat on Thursday Night Football when the Atlanta Falcons make their way to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are favored this by -4.5 with an over-under here of 44.5. Bucs coming off of a pretty big loss against the Saints. We both thought they were going to win. Falcons, I don't know if Raheem Morris is going to be here after the season. What are your thoughts going into this one? It's Tampa Bay and Carolina right now for the NFC South.
Yeah, man, and Tampa's got to win this. They really thought that they had an easy win last week, and then all of a sudden they're letting Tyler Shaw run all over them. Tampa's got to start getting it right. They got Mike Evans back now. Godwin's back. A lot of, they're starting to get that, and they're going to really need those guys for the playoffs. Bucky, Irving. So I think Atlanta right now, eliminated from playoff contention. It's going to be tough for them to find the motivation on the road, but they're playing against a divisional opponent. I will take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. I don't like the over 44.5. I like the under in this one. I think this is going to be a slow-paced game. I just can't see this getting off to a hot start, just the way the Tampa was playing last week. It had to have left a kind of sour taste in everyone's mouths.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And he had Bijan fumbling the ball, which is just not in his character. They just looked a little bit off. Hopefully they're able to just play a little bit better. Bucs still have a good run defense. I'm going to still take them in this one. I still feel like they should have won last week against the Saints. Maybe we'll see if oh my God, what is this face? If Kirk Cousins will run a little bit on him, but I highly doubt he never did with the Vikings, so why would he do it with them? But I like the Bucs in this one. All right, let's get this into some Sunday games. We have the Cleveland Browns making their way to Chicago to take on the Bears. Bears are favored this by -7.5 with an over-under here of 39.5. Sanders threw for another 300-plus yards last week. He couldn't get the win. Bears ended the game on an interception against the Packers. What are your thoughts going into this one? Is this a get-right game for Chicago?
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, they are right now completely tied with, the Packers at the top of the NFC North. Sorry to say it, Shanzi. I don't know how they did it, but they made a big turnaround this year. They're playing at home. It's going to be a cold game, so I'm expecting a lot from our boy Jordan Monangai and DeAndre Swift. They've been leaning a lot on the run game, and I feel like that's really the way they'll be able to control this. Quinshon Judkins was going crazy last week for the Browns, so I'm kind of expecting him to just continue to go off. And, Shador is the season starter now, but, he's been getting better every week in my opinion, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to get the Bears at home.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And just one of the things that we should monitor in this game, Myles Garrett, 20 sacks. How close are we going to get to that sack record after this week? Something to just keep in mind. One of the things that Caleb is known for is running around the pocket. Myles Garrett's pretty good at chasing down quarterbacks. I'm very curious to see it. All that being said, I am still taking the Bears, though. And their offense looks great. They have a ton of weapons. It was exactly what we were expecting with Ben Johnson. I think all we need to see from Caleb Williams is a little bit more consistency. But in the moments when they're going to need him the most, it seems like he's able to play his best, whether it's picking up first downs with his legs or making some incredible throws, honestly. I think last week it sucks. They ran the same play against, I think, the week before. Packers were just prepared for it. That's just, that's good game film, good positioning on the defense. I do like the Bears on this one. I think Sanders is the future, but I don't think it's going to be this game that he's able to carry them. All right, let's keep this moving along to the Baltimore Ravens making their way to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Baltimore's taking this by -2.5 with an over-under here of 52.5. Bengals had a shootout last week at one point against the Bills, or they were actually dominating that game against the Bills, and then just two uncharacteristic interceptions. Granted, one of them was a little bit insane, but Joe Burrow and them couldn't get it done against the Bills. What are your thoughts going up against the Ravens? They did just beat them a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and I kind of like Baltimore in this to get a little revenge here. It's going to be a tight game. I like the Bengals. I like how they're playing. Joe Burrow last week, 284 yards there, 4 touchdowns. He had those 2 picks. And Lamar, has not had a game where he's really had a chance to bounce back. Despite how good the Cincy offense is, their defense is still weak in my opinion. So I do like Derrick Henry to continue to have big games. Last week Zay Flowers couldn't get it done with the, some things, but everybody's just, it's a big cohesive unit right now for the Ravens. I do think that their defense is a little bit better, and that gives them the edge in my opinion. If Joe Burrow plays a clean game, though, it could be tough.
Yeah, I'm going to go opposite of you here. I'm going to go with the Bengals. I said it last week, but it feels like, I was giving the Ravens a lot of slack, and last week it was just brutal once again to see them. Granted, it might have been a bad call by the refs. I do think that was a touchdown by Isaiah Likely. I thought that there was clear control. I thought he made 2 steps, and I thought that it was a clear catch. And I do think that he's a spot start right now in fantasy playoffs if you're in a tight position right now with the tight ends. There hasn't been a lot of consistency, especially with Laporta getting injured and Bowers getting injured. You had T.J. Hawkinson in the weird Vikings offense this year. Tucker Kraft gets injured. And I'm blanking out on the rookie Fannin from the Chargers. We saw a really nice high. Now we're kind of down in that low right now, which is not a knock on any of these players. Just you never know with tight ends. That's the toughest position to draft right now. I do think you can put Isaiah Likely in a spot start right now against the Bengals defense because of how beatable they are right now, just like you talked about. I am taking them though because I just don't think that the Ravens have the juice right now. Everything looks off. Their run game looks off. Lamar looks off. Zay Flowers is dropping balls. Mark Andrews is not involved once again. They're not getting after the pass rush, and for some reason, this Bengals offensive line decided that after Joe Burrow's injury, they're like, oh yeah, maybe we should protect him, and they actually have stepped up. Now they're at home. We saw just a year ago, Jamar Chase absolutely tore them apart, and T. Higgins has been playing really great. He was making some incredible catches in the snow. I was really impressed. There was 1 or 2 drops, but overall I thought his performance in the snow was fantastic. So I like them in this one, and they're at home. Let's keep this moving along because we have a great one in this one. It's the Los Angeles Chargers making their way to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Chiefs are favored in this one by -4.5 with an over-under here of 41.5. Chargers had 4 interceptions last week. This is the first time, by the way, in NFL history that both of the Super Bowl quarterbacks that were in the previous Super Bowl did not throw a single touchdown and threw more than 3+ interceptions. Absolutely incredible stat. Gotta love the people out there that find these things.
What are your thoughts even find that?
Yeah, no, honestly, seriously. What are your thoughts going on this one? The Chiefs can no longer win the AFC West, everybody. Just a heads up. So they are officially a wild card team, baby.
Yeah, man, there's 2 sides to this, right? It's like Denver's leading the division. If the Chargers win this, they could give them a real run for their money. But if the Chiefs win this, they're back at 500, and they're only 1 game behind the Chargers, and then all of a sudden things are getting a little interesting. They may not be able to win it, but they may be able to still get a wild card spot. And, the Chargers, they're 1-4 against Mahomes when Herbert's starting, so I'm just looking at it like, Mahomes has to have a bounce back after, having a terrible week last week. Their offense is looking good. I will say Xavier Worthy, all his lines, all his fantasy stuff, the projections are always so low, and he's been getting a lot of love the last couple of weeks. So I love Xavier Worthy. If you're, debating starting him this week, you're definitely starting Kelsey, definitely starting Hunt if you got to put him in a flex play. But, on the Chargers side, it's kind of tough, Sean. I mean, you have to admit their weapons were a little underwhelming last week. Thank God for
the defense.
Their defense.
I mean, look, you get an interception, then you fumble it, then you get that fumble back by making it fumble again.
Yeah.
The odds of you getting, I think they had a total of 6 turnovers in the game, including the 2 fumbles. Yeah. So you're looking, the odds of that happening again are going to be slim. And I will say, to all the Chiefs fans that left during that game last week,
shame on you.
Shame on you. You've had 9 winning seasons, including multiple Super Bowls, and this is the first season that your team is struggling. You have an aging tight end. You have a wide receiver that missed 6 games, and you don't have the best offensive line right now. That's fine.
What are you
That's
gonna
fine. You're not in a rebuild. You're not a bad team. You guys are going to be fine next year. You're going to
do?
draft
Yeah.
well. You're going to have a highest draft pick that you've had in Patrick Mahomes the entire time playing, which is terrifying. Shame on you for leaving those because other franchises, Jets, Giants, Vikings, Raiders, Browns,
Those guys
Dolphins,
stay.
these guys stay. We stay. That's called commitment. You guys got to stay with it, all right? You got to be there for the highs. You got to be there for the lows. I do think the Chiefs get the win in this one because they are at home. You gotta show up and you gotta show out, Patrick Mahomes. Last week was an uncharacteristic game, and I do think that they're a better defense. I think it's going to put Justin Herbert in an uncomfortable position. We did see at times the Eagles' defense getting at him. You saw him going after the ham. You could see him being uncomfortable. You could see him being in pain. I think if they're able to dial up the pressure, really make him uncomfortable, I think that's how they're going to win this game. It's all through the defense, similar to what the Chargers did last week. But I'm liking them in this one. Let's keep this moving along because we have another divisional game. It does not stop here. We have the Buffalo Bills making their way to New England to take on the Patriots. Bills are favored in this one by -1.5 with an over-under here of 50.5. The Bills last week had a huge comeback in the snow. It was quite incredible. But right now, the talk of the town is the Patriots, who are on a 10-game win streak. What are your thoughts going into this game?
Dude, there's so many good games this week. This could absolutely be like the game of the week in the 1 p.m. window, despite the last two games we talked about being so good. But, like, you know, Josh Allen was just going absolutely wild last week to get that comeback. But the Patriots, they're playing clean games right now. The Bills need to get this win so that they can get the head-to-head tiebreaker because New England beating them earlier, you got to think the Bills have been waiting for these guys to get them again, and they do not want to be having to deal with them in the playoffs as well. So the Bills right now, they're favorites on the road, which is interesting. I will take them. I think this is definitely going to be a big James Cook game. The Bills-Pats, I mean, it's kind of funny how it's flipped on its own head, right? Like we felt like Brady always used to beat them, and now the Bills the last couple of years have been beating them, and now this is the first year. This really feels like there is going to be a big threat, in the AFC East. But I'm going to take this. I love to see somebody get more involved now. Dalton Kincaid's back, Khalil Shakir. That's huge for the Bills. So we need those guys to step up if the Bills are going to win this game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I am also going to go with the Bills. I think that they kind of found the rhythm at the right time, and I think that they're hot in the right moment to be on the road against a divisional opponent. I think it's going to be a great game. I think you can take the over on this one with a lot of confidence. I do think that while the defense of the Patriots are good, Josh Allen is great at just improvising and finding ways to score. I do think that their offense is going to step up a lot more, especially when it comes to their receivers. So I really like them going into this one. I do think it's a game where they're going to make Drake May a little bit more uncomfortable than what we saw when they were at home. Let's keep this moving along because we have the Washington Commanders making their way to New York to take on the Giants. Giants favored this one -2.5 with an over-under here of 47.5. Commanders are officially eliminated from the playoffs. Zach Ertz is out for the season. Jaden Daniels should just not be playing for the rest of the season as well as he gets healthy, and that's the expectation I think that Dan Quinn and this front office is going to have. I'm going to take the Giants in this one without question. Giants got the juice right now. It doesn't matter that they're eliminated. Jackson Dart, you know that he's just going to go out and he's just going to be a gunslinger and toss it. I really like them going into this one. I do think the Washington Commanders are going to put up points last week. They didn't do that against the Vikings, which I was shocked by. I mean, Mariota dropped back on interception. I was like, okay. I was like, he's going to drive down this field without question against this Vikings team. And I do think that the Giants, at the end of the day, they got a stingy defense, hate him or love him. And I do think that Abdul Carter, I'm not worried about his future. I know it's been a slightly underwhelming season for the number 3 overall pick, especially when your third round running back is overshadowing him and your quarterback is a little bit, but I'm not worried about it for the future. I think Kafka's just taking a slightly more public approach with him compared to Brian Dable, and that's neither here nor there. He's a rookie. This is the time to do it and to show what happens in the NFL when you don't attend meetings, if that's the case, or like you're late to meetings. Like all work, you get consequences sometimes when you don't show up at the appropriate time, and that's not out of the ordinary. So I'm not worried about him. I think he has the talent. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, It's going to be, I know that's the story this week. Everyone's like, what's going to happen with Abdul Carter? He's fine. He's going to be on a 5-year deal with the Giants, and he's going to play with Jackson Dart for the next 5 years. And I think that the one thing we would love to start seeing is Jackson Dart beating the Commanders like a Giants quarterback should be doing every year. So, like you were talking about,
Jones did.
Yeah, even Daniel Jones did it. Come on, Jackson, you got to step up. But I will say, I'm excited to see these teams kind of play in the future more than I am to see them play this week because it'll be Jaden Daniels, Jackson Dart twice a year for a while. But right now, I'll take him. I'll take Jackson Dart over Mariota. Just the way this team looked last week, this Commanders team, there's no faith, no hope. And the Giants playing at home, they got to play for something. So I think they win one for the fans. And somehow, they always find a way to not get the first pick.
Yeah. Also, Washington, don't worry. You guys have all the right places and finally a competent ownership. Do not worry. Do not worry. Everything's going to be fine. This happens. All right, let's keep this moving along. We're gonna breeze past this game. It's the Las Vegas Raiders making their way to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Phillies this one by 11.5 with an over under of 38.5. I think it's one and done for Geno and Pete Carroll. Geno's also projected to not play in this one, which means Kenny Pickett's going up against his former team. Actually, I should rephrase this: Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett is going up against his former team. But I'm locking in the Eagles. If the Eagles lose this week, toss in the flag for the season. You're done.
Yeah, this is quick for me as well. Yeah, easy. Like last week, Saquon, huge running performance, 21, 22, and 2 on the ground. Jalen Hurts, we talked about it a little earlier in the Chargers game, but man, was he ugly last week. So I can't trust the Raiders more than somehow I trust Jalen Hurts coming off a 5-turnover game. But I'm going to take the Eagles at home. They need to win this so that they can kind of get a stranglehold on the NFC East.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. All right, we got another one of these games, guys. New York Jets make their way to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Jacksonville's favored this one at minus 13.5 and over under here of 41.5. Jets are already eliminated from the playoffs. I'm going to lock in Jacksonville. I think you can still start Breece Hall if you have him in the playoffs like me. I got a first-round bye, though. And I do think... think also you can start Jacoby Myers. Shout out Jacoby Myers. He's been fantastic for this Jaguars team. He's opened up the passing game for them. He's opened up the run game for them. They were clearly missing a true wide receiver too, and this is not a knock on Travis Hunter. And we're going to see what happens in terms of two-way players, but Jacoby Myers is just a veteran. This is just like a veteran who knows how to operate in an offense and find these little pockets on the defense that eventually Travis Hunter will figure out, as so many wide receivers do. And I think what we're really seeing is now that's allowing Brian Thomas Jr. in this run game. So I'm liking Jacksonville. And again, like the Jets traded all their great defensive pieces, so they took a huge step back this year.
Yeah, if anyone's tanking this year, it's the Jets. And when you look at a line that says 13.5 minus Jacksonville's favor over you, you know things are getting really, really bad. But right now, Jacksonville, with the Daniel Jones injury in Indianapolis, Jacksonville, things get a little interesting for them. We'll get into Houston in the next game, but it's going to be a race between them and Jacksonville for the division. So, like you said, Jacoby Myers has been absolutely great. They're going to need a little more from Brian Thomas Jr. to make him even better. But just to bring up your point, I'm taking Jacksonville as well. But somebody was asking me recently if I think Jacoby Myers is good, and I'm like, no, he's great. He's just been on a bad New England team and an even worse Raiders team. And now he's on a decent team, and he's making Trevor Lawrence look okay. And, if they could have all of these guys, Brenton Strange, all these guys back together, what can't they do? So I like Jacksonville. It's too easy.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more. All right, let's keep this moving along. We have the Arizona Cardinals making their way to Houston, take on the Texans. Houston favoring this by minus 9.5 with an over-under here of 41.5. I think you can start Michael Wilson in this one, and I think if you really had to, for whatever reason, you could risk the Jacoby Brissett start. I will say, without a doubt, I'm locking in the Texans. This defense is fantastic. Their offense is finding their rhythm in all the right ways. Their offensive line is really taking a step in the right direction. C.J. Stroud looks great. There's no question in my mind for this one. It's the Texans. I do think one of the big storylines that everybody should watch out, and I said a few weeks ago, watch out for Kyler Murray and what's going to happen with him this offseason. He's not playing for the rest of the season. And I do think that you can look to teams potentially like the Vikings, depending on how J.J. McCarthy finishes the season. I think you can look at a team like the Steelers. as potentially a landing spot for Kyler Murray, and that's something to just keep in mind with this. But I'm going to take the Texans right now. This defense is just insane. You can't do anything unless you're able to protect this quarterback. And with Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter, they are just making everybody pay.
Yeah, dude. Like you said, the Texans. CJ looked great last week, coming back kind of in that. Last week kind of looked like the first time this offense looked at all normal. But their defense really just kind of put them in a great spot. 3 picks kind of controlled the whole game against KC. And, when you're talking about these starts, I mean, Nico Collins, but also I think Jaden Higgins got to start going off soon. I mean, last week,
Yep.
I don't feel like everybody was like, you got to start him, you got to start him. I think Dalton Schultz, Woody Marks, and Nico, and maybe CJ Stroud, if you're in that spot, are like the startable ones. I wouldn't take any gambles on these Houston Texans D. But Trey McBride, you said, Jacoby Brissett, Michael Wilson, there are startable fantasy guys in this game, but Houston's favored by 9.5 for a reason.
Yep, and Vegas knows. We all know Vegas knows.
Vegas knows.
All right, let's keep this moving along. We have another great game. We have the Green Bay Packers making their way to Denver to take on the Broncos. Green Bay starting this one -2.5 with an over-under here of 42.5. Packers got the big win over the Bears last week. Broncos and the Patriots, best records in football. It's exactly what everybody predicted in the offseason. Everybody was saying it's going to be the Patriots and the Broncos with the best record.
Dude, it's Peyton Manning, Tom Brady all over again just 10 years later when Drake May and Bo Nix. But, I will say the Packers and the Broncos, both of these guys have been pretty solid all year. Just completely, both these teams, they feel like they play to their competition. And now they're both great somehow from it. So, Jordan Love versus Bo Nix, very interesting quarterback combo. Not a combo we probably see a lot, just, in our conference. So I do kind of like, Green Bay on the road here, but I'm going to take Denver at home just because I think the weather is going to definitely play a little bit of a factor. And when you're looking at these two defenses side by side, they're top 10 in everything. And I think it's just going to be a really tough game. That 42.5 kind of indicates that for me. But, Green Bay, I mean, they're good on the road. They're 4-1-1, but Denver is 6-0 at home. I'll ride the Denver wave this week as dogs. I think that they could have the advantage. Cortland Sutton and Troy Franklin, they're starting to have the same fantasy projections, same lines. I would put Troy Franklin now in that fantasy relevant kind of way, and RJ Harvey as well. I mean, we keep talking about it, Sean. This guy may not get yards, but he does get touchdowns. So another good guy to maybe spot start. But who would you, tell me, who are you taking in this, and who would you start, on the Packers side? Because they have a lot of weapons, but it's tough when you got a lot of weapons.
I think you can start Christian Watson right now in a spot start as the wide receiver 1 for them. And I think, as always, you got to just keep riding Josh Jacobs no matter what. Yeah. I do like Jordan Love also. I think he's finding his rhythm at the right time. I'm locking in Green Bay because of that. I think that their offense gets started fast. Denver, and I've said it every single week, they start slow. It's not until like the third, fourth quarter do they finally start to put up points, it feels like. Green Bay is almost the opposite. They put up points quickly on you. They keep it going. They don't let up. And I think that's something that they're going to have to do again this week against a really good Denver team. They're going to be on the road, like you said. It's always hard to play in the Mile High Stadium because of that altitude.
Yeah.
But I do like the Packers in this one. I think that they just have a slightly better overall team at the moment, and I think Jordan Love at quarterback. Bo Nix is having a slightly down sophomore season. It's not a bad season. You're 11-2. No. Ultimately, wins is what matters. But compared to last season where he had in terms of the flashes that we were seeing that he's able to do, just looks a little bit different. Again, year 2, sophomore slump always happens. I'm not knocking him at all. You're 11-2. Doesn't matter what your stats are or how you're winning. Matters is wins. So, but I do like Green Bay. I think they're going to be the better team. Moving this along, we've got the Detroit Lions making their way to LA to take on the Rams. Rams are favored this by -5.5 with an over-under here of 55.5. These teams have met in the playoffs the last few years, and of course, as always, Stafford being the longtime Lion, you can't not talk about them when they play each other. All this being said, though, I'm locking in the Rams, man. This defense for them is great. This offense for them is even better. I think you got I think we kept talking about it, but they're to me like the Super Bowl favorites. I think that they're like the team to beat right now in the NFC. I don't think that there is a better team than them. I don't think it's the Eagles. No offense to the Lions. I don't think it's the Lions. It's not the Bears. It's not the Packers. I think it's the Rams more than anybody.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, so the Rams, the last time that they played in 2021, two games, like basically Detroit has beaten Matthew Stafford the last two times he's played him over the last year in the playoffs and then last year in the opener. And now you look at, Matthew Stafford just, he gets to play him at home. And the last time they played him at home with Matthew Stafford, they won. And I think that that's a big factor there. He won't have to travel to Detroit. It's a little less of that narrative for him. But I will say, I like Detroit on the road right now. They are, 8-5, and they're just trying to stay alive in that NFC North. Along with the Packers, they're kind of hoping the Packers and the Bears somehow drop these games this week. But the Rams are trying to do the same. I mean, these are two teams that are fighting for the top of their divisions right now, and this could be the highest point total of the week, 55.5. So definitely could be game of the week here if it wasn't such a stacked week. Puka last week, freaking 7 for 167 and 2. All the Puka peeps who got him in fantasy, good for you, man. This is his year, and I will say, if he didn't miss all those games, I mean, it would be unbelievable. I will say, though, Detroit, Amon-Ra looks fully healthy. I have so much more confidence in them this week than I did last week, and they've had a couple long weeks, so I do like that for them. But I'd be happy whoever wins this game, but I'll take Detroit.
Yep. I mean, look, they're a good team. I think ultimately all you have to do is get pressure on Jared Goff, make him uncomfortable. And sadly, the biggest knock on Goff, and it is true, is that he's not able to overcome.
Yeah.
But let's see. Maybe this will be the week. Prove me wrong. Let's keep this moving along to the Carolina Panthers make the way to New Orleans, take on the Saints. Carolina's favored this one by -2.5. I'll pull up the over-under in a second. However, Panthers are still in the mix right now for the playoffs. This is something crazy, and I am going to lock them in against the Saints because the Saints are a very beatable team. I think that the Buccaneers underestimated them. This was the cost. I don't think that the Panthers underestimate anybody because they're the team that you usually underestimate. And they're like, we're sitting here at 500. We got a chance to win the division. We're going to win this game. And I'm liking them for it.
Yeah, I love that. I think that it's just, this Carolina Panthers team kind of coming out of nowhere. It's like you said with Denver, New England, all these teams, you just didn't think they were going to be that good, and here they are. New Orleans last week, obviously they were trying to spoil it, so I think they're trying to spoil it again this week. I don't think they'll get it done, but it would be funny if they were just winning against the Bucs, winning against the Panthers just to make it interesting. Right now, I'm not loving really anything on the Saints as far as starting in fantasy, not even Olave right now. I'm sure he'll go and just have a big game anyway because I said that, but you're starting a lot of Panthers in this game, most likely, Dowell, Ted McMillan, but I'm not starting like Leggett or maybe Chuba Hubbard. I'm not starting those guys in this. This is probably the game that if you have a fantasy player in it, it's not Rico or Ted or Olave, you're not going to be starting anybody. But give me Carolina on the road, not a bad travel for them, and they usually play pretty terrible games.
Yeah, they usually do, but they got a chance to the playoffs. That's not something we've said in like the last 8 years.
Yeah.
All right, moving this right along. Pretty easy one, I think, for the both of us. Got the Tennessee Titans making their way to San Francisco, take on the 49ers. 49ers are favored this by -12.5 with an over-under here of 44.5. I'm locked in the 49ers. They keep finding ways to win. I just think that they are a better team than the Titans. I hate to continue to knock on the Titans, but they are just not playing great football, and it's costing them. Also, the over-under on the Panthers game is a 40.5. Just to let everybody know, and I think you can take the under on that one.
Yeah, I'll take that too.
But I am going to lock in the 49ers. I got a -12.5. That's easy for me. And I just think that the Titans are just not playing great.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm looking at it like it's San Francisco, right? They have to just win this game easy. For when it comes to 12.5 spread. I mean, this is the point in the season, and we'll see it up and coming in the next game. But I mean, Cam Ward, obviously, he would love a little second go at it when he's looking at not trying to be number one. Going to this Titans team was a big risk, and it could be a huge game for CMC. I could definitely just see him getting 2 touchdowns just because it's going to be such a favorable matchup. You're starting all Niners in this one, no matter what. Kittle,
especially the
Jennings,
defense.
Everybody. especially the defense. Yeah, good call, Sean. This could be low key like a San Francisco defense week, like just sacks on sacks against Cam Ward. I don't think anybody else is sacked more than Cam Ward this year.
No, absolutely not, and that's been one of their biggest struggles. But we'll see. Let's keep this moving along to the Indianapolis Colts making to Seattle, take on the Seahawks. Seahawks are this one minus 13.5, and over under here 42.5. Colts rough one. Daniel Jones, what a start to the season. Tears his Achilles. He's now out for the remainder of the season. They bring in 44-year-old, hasn't played in 5 years, Phillip Rivers. Which is not a knock on Phillip Rivers. It's just been a long time since he's slung a football around. I'm not liking them in this game. The Seahawks defense is just terrifying. I got to go with Seattle. Whether it's Riley Leonard, who it should be getting the start in this one, is because Phillip Rivers has to take this entire week to practice, or it is Phillip Rivers out of nowhere and they decide to start him. I just think that the Seahawks defense is so good, it's going to be impossible. And we saw last week, offense wasn't necessarily amazing for Seattle, but that defense was like, doesn't matter. We can easily carry you to a win as long as you're just able to put up points here and there. You don't need to put up points every drive. We'll take care of that for you.
Yeah, I think, Seattle just has been in the driver's seat for every game they've been playing the last 8 weeks. I feel like every time you check the halftime scores, because they're always playing a 425, and you just look at red zone and you're like, wow. All right,
sure,
Seattle, 28 nothing with 8 minutes left in the second quarter. I mean, you're shocked that their running backs aren't like leading the league in yards, the amount that they're just trying to run out the clock. Going to probably be the same scenario. I think when it comes to Seattle, man, they have been a great defense there. They're just consistent. Sam Darnold has been clean with the football, and right now, I mean, they are tied with the Rams, and they are at home right now. They're 4-2 at home right now. I love them in this. It's easy for me. Probably JSN touchdown, but outside of him, Rashid Shaheed did get love last week, and we love Rashid Shaheed on this show. So I will say, if you need a flex and you are in the playoffs and waivers ain't easy, Rashid Shaheed.
Spot starting, baby. We love it. All right, Sunday Night Football. My Minnesota Vikings making their way to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Cowboys are favored in this one by minus 5.5 with an over-under here of 47.5. JJ, number 9, McCarthy, actually had a decent game last week. Only 2 receptions for Justin Jefferson. I am just waiting for his game where he just has 100 yards, and it just doesn't feel like it's going to happen. But hopefully JJ McCarthy continues to build on the game last week. It seemed like the game plan was a little bit more simplified. It seemed like he understood the assignments a little bit more. Still want to see what happens when he gets to the second and third reads. But I am going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. I do think that they have the better team right now. I think that Dak is playing well. This defense has been taking a step up in the right direction. I think it's going to be just enough to make J.J. McCarthy very uncomfortable. I think that you can kind of spot start Dallas as well in this game. I know that they put up 30-ish. They've put up 30 points last week. But I don't know if that the Vikings defense will be able to overcome both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, who are just having a hell of a duo this year. And that's enough to make me feel comfortable to take the Cowboys.
I'm gonna take Dallas in this as well. Like you said, it was simplified for them a little last week, and they were just up. Like when you're up, you're handing the ball off. You can hit the play action when you need to. He's got some legs on him. But Dak is leading the league in passing yards. So if you're talking about straight up keeping up with this Dallas offense and dealing with this Dallas pass rush that has finally gotten healthy, it's getting real. I think that Dallas has started to just lean a lot on their run game with Javonte Williams. Know they can always go to their passing game with CD and Pickens. And, I'd love to see a big game out of Ferguson this week. I feel like these are 2 fantasy tight ends. This is a fantasy tight end conundrum game right here with Jake Ferguson and TJ Hawkinson. You want to start them this week, but you don't know if you should. It's going to be a good matchup for them, but it's a scary thing when you think about it, like just having to think about this week from that perspective. Justin Jefferson, do you start Justin Jefferson? Obviously you have to.
Always.
But he's got to know it's the fantasy playoffs, right, Sean?
Because you know what happens when you don't? That's when they go off also. Yeah. So you got to ride or die without the terribleness. Because you know that the week that you don't and you're like, I benched him, it's been 3 weeks. It's like, hey, have you ever heard of a 40 burger in fantasy? Because that's what I gave you on the bench. And you're like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Fuck this game. That's fantasy. That's Dallas, as
Dallas,
the
right
office says. All right, that's
Absolutely.
Dallas. All right, let's move this into the last game of Week 15, Monday Night Football. Miami Dolphins making their way to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Pittsburgh favored this one by -3 with an over/under here of 42.5. It is the Micah Parsons return where he faces the team that traded him away to the team that traded him to them. So this will be an interesting game for Micah Fitzpatrick.
Minka
What do you-
Fitzpatrick.
Minka Fitzpatrick, Micah.
Yeah,
Oh
you
my
said
God,
Parsons.
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 Guys, it's 7:30. It's been a long work day. We're all getting tired on this last game. What are your thoughts going into this one? Because Mike McDaniel's playing for his coaching right now, and honestly, I think he's keeping his job.
Yeah, I think he is. Just he's been getting lucky, but I don't know if they can do it here as dogs on the road. Tomlin, his mentality is making sure that they can continue to try to win the AFC North right now. The Bengals are, just absolutely dominating. The Steelers are absolutely dominating on the front seven, and that's really where the Miami Dolphins are really sucking right now. Their offense is just horrible, and I think that. When it comes down to it, outside of Achan, if you can get somebody to be spied on him, Minka Fitzpatrick could help shut down, the whole DK Metcalf game last week. DK, 11 receptions. You got to give it to him. He didn't score, but I think he could definitely score this week. And Jalen Ramsey, also on the other side of that trade, could he pick off Tua, who has the most picks in the league right now? I'm taking Pittsburgh at home -3. I'm taking the TJ Watt sack, and I'm taking the Jalen Ramsey interception. You heard it here first.
I like it. I think those are all very, very possible, especially with how Jalen Ramsey has been playing this season. I think that the Steelers' defense has a little bit of confidence after last week. I'm very curious to see how they bounce back, though. There's a chance that they win this week, and the Bengals win. All of a sudden, they're sitting a little bit more comfortable in the AFC North, with the Ravens sitting now 2 games behind them. So that'll be something just to monitor. Like right now, you're playing for the playoffs if you're Pittsburgh. I don't really see Aaron Rodgers coming back next year. I do see them again like going after a Kyler Murray kind of player. I don't see them running it back with a 40-something-year-old.
Kyler Murray on the Steelers.
Yeah, I don't know, possible.
What about? I mean, you said before too. I mean, the Bengals and Ravens playing this week. That's huge timing for the Steelers. That they get this chance to sit back and kind of wait. And if they win this, it's gonna get ugly these last 4 weeks. Because I'm pretty sure these AFC North teams are playing each other the way the Bengals and the Ravens played each other from Thanksgiving to now. It's gonna be quick turnarounds.
They are, guys. So you guys got to buckle up if you're an AFC North fan, or just a football fan, honestly. That's always one of the best divisions that we got. But that is all the time that we have, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Excited for this week. Get your fantasy playoffs ready, and get the lineup set, and do not have any Thursday night flexes.
Yeah, do not have any Thursday night flexes unless you want to. No, don't do it. The fact is, you make your playoffs, do your thing. Thank you guys for watching Just Saying Football. We're going to keep you guys updated even the next week throughout the playoffs as well. And thank you guys for always watching us, Just Saying Football on YouTube. Get us in your ears at Spotify at Just Saying Football. Same thing with the Discord, Just Saying Football. And Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram for all your updates. Thank you guys. Week 15, crazy stuff.